Kia ora class. Today we're going to be talking about the energy systems that the human body uses for exercise. Our learning attention for today is that we are describing the characteristics of the body's three major energy systems and explaining how they relate to exercise performance. So, the energy systems. In the body there are three main different pathways for producing energy. These are called energy systems. The first one is the aerobic energy system. The second is the anaerobic glycolytic system. And lastly, the phosphocreatine or ATP-CP system. The energy that each pathway produces is exactly the same. It's this little molecule called adenosine triphosphate or ATP. So all the muscle movements, everything that's happening in your body is fueled by this molecule. The systems are different in the way that they supply that ATP, how much they can supply, and how long it takes them to supply that ATP. So, which system will the body use? Well, that depends on the intensity and the duration of the activity that you're doing. The body will always try and meet the energy demands of the activity as best it can, but it's important to keep in mind that all systems do overlap to some degree, and that the strength of each system depends on the athlete and the type of training they've done in the past, how well trained they are, how fit they are with regards to that energy system. In general though, we can create a rough picture of how these systems operate together to fuel the energy requirements of performance. Alright, this is the overall picture of how these different energy systems work together to contribute to overall performance. Overall performance is this pink line here. You'll see at the start, overall performance is at a point where you can recruit and you have access to basically the absolute maximum percentage energy you can potentially have in your body. So this is your absolute sprint, your jump as high as you can, your hit as hard as you can. But you'll see over time, very, very quickly after the first few seconds, 2 seconds here, 10 seconds here, down to 2 minutes here, the amount of energy you have available to do those performances is a lot less. And this kind of makes sense, right? If you were told to run as hard as you can without slowing down, you would be able to run really fast at the start, but you'd quickly fatigue, you'd quickly run out of that maximal intensity energy, and you would eventually hit a point where you just sort of peter out and you can just sort of maintain maybe a jog or a quick run over the rest of the time period. You wouldn't be able to do that maximal stuff again. You can see that this purple line here is influenced by these systems underneath. The stored ATP in the muscle, that lasts for about 2 seconds but quickly runs out. Then we have the creatine phosphate repairing that ATP, supplying more ATP for the next sort of 8, 10, 12 seconds, again depending on the athlete. But again, that's going to quickly run out. The next system is the lactic acid system, or the anaerobic glycolytic system is another name for it. You can see this ramping up while the ATP and CP are running out, and then suddenly this is the main thing, providing energy for performance. But again, it's going to run out. Those waste products are going to build up. The short-term energy stores are going to run out, and we're going to be left just relying on our final system, the aerobic energy system. Now, this system can supply energy for a long, long duration of time, basically indefinitely off in this direction, but the amount of energy it can produce is only a fraction of what the others can produce in a short period of time. Alright, let's look at each energy system a little bit more in turn. The aerobic energy system makes ATP using the body's biggest energy stores, that is glycogen and fat, and it combines these with oxygen to create ATP. By using oxygen, the system is really efficient. It actually gets rid of all the kind of waste products and buildup that would otherwise hinder performance. It actually leaves only water and carbon dioxide, which we know come out of our body just in our breath. That's the only waste products. Therefore, this system can work for a really, really long time, basically indefinitely. but it is limited by how much energy it can provide at once. That is the rate of ATP it can create for you. You can't be sprinting indefinitely because this system does not allow you enough ATP regeneration to sprint. So it limits how intense you can perform for that long duration. Now, this means that it's most important for long but only moderate to low intensity exercises. Things like endurance running, swimming, or cycling races, those things that have a very, very long duration, but not an absolute maximal intensity for the whole time. So cycle races and things like triathlons, swimming, running races, things like that. Now the anaerobic glycolytic system is a little bit different. This makes ATP from the body's short-term energy stores, such as muscle glycogen and blood glucose. It does leave some waste products like lactic acid, and these have been shown to possibly have a negative impact on performance. They are possibly the reason that we feel fatigue in our muscles, we feel tired, we get that burning sensation. These waste products left over from this system hinder our performance if they build up over a period of time. This system kicks in quickly. After about maybe 30 seconds of exercise, you'll find that this system can be providing ATP to the working muscles, but can only go for about 90 seconds to 2 minutes, depending again on how well trained the athlete is. It provides energy for high intensity activity because it can supply quite a high rate of ATP at any one time. But because of the waste product, you will need to stop and take regular breaks to allow that waste product to be removed from your body. That is, breaks of lower intensity. Not necessarily stopping, but reducing the intensity of the exercise to give the body a chance to recover and get the system back running. So this system is most important for things like intermittent team sports or racket sports or really short races, your 400s, 800s, that sort of thing. It involves working hard for a couple of minutes, but with less intense periods in between. So that's the rest periods we talked about. That's why team sports, where you're maybe working for a bit while the ball is near you, then maybe not working as intensely when it's down the other end or on the other side. That's why the system is good for that. So tennis and things like netball, of course. Lastly, the phosphocreatine system, or the ATP-CP system. This system includes all the ATP that is currently sitting in the muscles ready to be used, and creatine phosphate, or CP, which is sitting there ready to remake that ATP very, very quickly for about the first 10 to 20 seconds of exercise. Once it's used up, that's it all gone for the time being. Your body needs to take a good 2 or 3 minutes to rest to recreate these stores of ATP and CP before it can go again using this system. However, the energy that's provided by the system is huge. It's a huge, intense, explosive burst of energy that you can use. If we're thinking in real life situations, it's the kind of energy you would use to quickly jump out of the way of a car or to jump really, really high. In sports performance, things like high jump, long jump, things where you throw or have to hit something really, really hard, these instant, short activities and skills that require absolute maximum intensity. Kicking and conversion is a good example, and high jump is another really, really good example of where the phosphocreatine system is important. Lastly, I want to leave you with a little video here. This is Usain Bolt breaking the men's 200-meter world record in Berlin in 2009, about 10 years ago. It's a really awesome video to watch, but what's really interesting is to just watch and see if you can see any change in the way Usain is running. And could we relate this to what we've just found out about energy systems and the way they work and how long they potentially last? Have a watch.